Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coping Strategies for Anxiety. We all have it, and this is a great time to come together with Karen, who's a nurse, and she's going to introduce herself because she has a lot to say about the topic and some helpful tips and tricks for us in managing anxiety, especially as the seasons come upon us, like holidays, and we deal with family or just diagnosis or treatments. All of those things kind of fall into this category. So, Karen, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself and please, we are here with open ears and open hearts to listen.
All right. Well, great. I want to tell you just a little bit about me, and then I want to talk about how I view doing these classes. So, as I said, my name's Karen Taylor. I apologize for not having my name up. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse since 1977. I retired from Hopkins, and now what I do is I work for Baltimore County Department of Aging on a contractual basis. So, if OPAL wants certain classes I offer, or any of the various senior citizen centers in Baltimore County I go to, I've got a list of about 15 or 17 classes, and it's a combination of medical, blood pressure, diabetes, and then some specific diabetic ones, such as diabetes and the brain with immunosuppressant, as well as mental health. Now, I view my role as giving you guys factual information. So I always, when we start out, will show you where I got my information. Some of it is just because I've been a nurse for many years. I worked in neurosurgery, in the emergency department, and then most of my career was in psychiatry. Clin spec in psychiatry. I want to give you guys factual information. When I do a class at the center, then I feel it's really important that you all have a wealth of knowledge and wisdom because you haven't gotten this far without learning stuff. So I think it's really helpful to hear from people. What have you tried? What works? What would you be willing to try again? So I really look at classes as classes are good, but we know information does not change behavior. It helps us to change it. But if information changed behavior, nobody would be smoking. We probably would be vegetarians or pescatarians. We all would be exercising as we should, et cetera. And we don't. And so part of what I really like to look at with these different presentations are, well, what's one thing that you'd be willing to do differently? Uh, Either more of, less of, something new. And then when we put these things together is when people really experience a true change. Um, so I'm going to tell you something that a lot of people don't tell you is feel free to unmute and interrupt me. I think it's going to make it a lot more interesting for everybody. On my screen, I can't see all of you that are here. It's really helpful when I can see you because as a presenter, I get a lot of my energy from your guys' responses. So that's what's tricky about Zoom is I see nothing or little heads. So I'm grateful for little heads. Does anybody today have something that they're thinking, when this class is over, this is what I want to know? Just shout it out. Okay, that makes my job easy. You'll be happy with whatever you get. I'm glad. And if at the end you have any questions, please, as I said, interrupt me. I like questions. So,
Karen, I
well,
do have one.
yes.
Please stop telling me to breathe. Like I know like when I'm in an anxious state and I know I need to slow my heart rate and I know I need to do the box breathing. I get it, but I think I need something else, right? That's just personal.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm glad you brought that up because something that we will address is number one, one thing does not solve everybody's problems. This is why we have substance abuse, because people are looking for one thing that's going to help them. And so, what I like to picture is that we have a bag of tricks. And you try one thing for a little bit. Maybe that doesn't work in this situation. So, you're going to pull something else from your bag of tricks. And some people can't stand breathing exercises. Some people like them. There's no right or wrong. It's figuring out what works for you. So, one of the things that I think is really helpful, and I'm going to start off with this, is looking at difference between stress and anxiety, and then how our body produces those symptoms of anxiety. Because when we understand that, it makes more sense, the suggestions that I'm going to give you. So, stress is coming at you. So, it can be positive events are stressful, births, weddings. And when you look at studies that have been done, some positive events are almost as high as death with the amount of stress that it can cause. So, stress, theoretically, it's going to end when the situation resolves or it becomes more manageable. Anxiety is our reaction to stress. Okay. Now, you can also get anxiety for some people. If you have a major depression, anxiety can be one of the symptoms you get when you're depressed. When you're dealing with medical issues, it makes sense that you're anxious. And then there's also a diagnosis of GAD, generalized anxiety disorder, which is something that occurs to people without stress attached. Now, anxiety can interfere with your life. We know anxiety causes physical symptoms, emotional symptoms. And so, what we're really looking at is not to take away all anxiety, because anxiety has purposes too. I'll give you an example. I'm preparing a presentation that I'm doing tomorrow. Um, if I didn't have anxiety, I doubt I would work on it. But it's kicking me to let's get this done, be on time, make it good. So, what our goal really is with anxiety is to have minimal life disruptions from it and as much comfort as possible. So, in some ways, anxiety is something that keeps us safe. Now, we have different areas of the brain. You guys are probably aware of the frontal lobe. What the frontal lobe does is that's our thinking and processing center. We also have what's called the limbic system, which is deep within our brain, and that is our emotional center. And deep within, can you see my cursor? In the center of the brain is where your limbic system is. Part of the limbic system is something called the amygdala. The amygdala takes what's going on outside, it gets the senses, and the amygdala is trying to figure out, do I need to react? Do I need to run? So it sends signals to your hippocampus, which is what's highlighted, and the hippocampus sends signals up to our frontal lobe for the frontal lobe to say, yes, go, or hold on, wait a second. Easy example. You're walking down the street and suddenly something blows across the sidewalk in front of you. And you may startle, right? Now, you can start running, but the brain ideally should say, "Well, I got a good look at that. It's a newspaper. You can chill out." The brain sends that signal to the hippocampus, and the hippocampus lets the amygdala know, and then it sends signals to your body. So our body is incredibly interrelated. Now, what's interesting about this, and we don't have much time to talk about it, but what you need to realize is within your emotional center, there's no time and there's no logic, there's no speech. which is, your speech center is in a different area of your brain, which is why when people get super upset, they can have a hard time articulating what's going on because that part of their brain is not getting through the emotionality. When we have difficulties with anxiety is when our that part of the brain keeps on signaling hyper alert. And you see this is really how PTSD works, also how childhood trauma works. Um, so the sympathetic nervous system is what is activated when there is a stressor. And the sympathetic nervous system essentially, we used to say, just tells us to what? Flight or fight. Now we know it also does the freeze. And this is any type of threat. So,
My
what is it? Yeah,
getting your code for this portal.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I'm not sure she was talking. I think maybe she was
Oh,
just,
okay.
I'll go
Okay.
ahead and mute.
So, yeah. So the sympathetic nervous system is what gears us up. And so what happens is physiological. We get a dry mouth. We may start to sweat. Our heart rate goes faster. The blood is pulled away from our stomach, and that gives us that queasy feeling. And our pupils become dilated, so we're able to scan more. So essentially, for many people, these are the symptoms of anxiety that your body is producing to a threat. Now, that threat may be real, it may be a concern, maybe you don't know. It's late at night and you're hearing footsteps. Well, it could be a person. I've got a big dog, could be my big dog. So when the frontal lobe gets back and says, look, you can really chill out, that's when the parasympathetic nervous system gets started. Think about sympathetic, fight, flight, freeze, parasympathetic, rest and digest. So your heart rate slows, your muscles and your stomach intestines start working, your pupils constrict back to normal. So, when we're working on these different actions to help decrease anxiety, what we really want to do is get the parasympathetic nervous system activated. So, how do we do that? When you know it's specific for anxiety, the earlier you notice that you're feeling anxious, the easier it is to intervene. So I'm going to use a stress ball, for example. Everybody's heard of these stress balls. You squeeze them, it helps you, right? So you're a little anxious. Maybe you're sitting in a doctor's office, or maybe you're just at home and you're doing a stress ball, you're doing some kind of fidget, helping you get your mind off of it. Okay, stress ball may very well work then. If you are in hyperventilating, totally upset, and I hand you a stress ball and I say, here, squeeze this, you're going to feel better. Are you going to believe me? Yeah. Nor should you believe me because you won't feel better. I might get it thrown at me. One of the things I did at work was I did a lot looking at how to reduce patient family aggression towards staff. And as staff, we had to change our approach to people. And so it was looking at you can't mollify somebody with a stress ball when they're really angry or upset. And so that's why the sooner we can look at putting these different interventions into action, the easier it's going to be for us to get that parasympathetic nervous system activated. Now, when you're anxious, sometimes you realize the physical symptoms before you mentally say to yourself, "Oh, I'm really anxious." So and every person has different ones. You may notice when your heart rate goes up. Somebody else may notice because their stomach's feeling queasy. Maybe you're getting sweaty. Maybe your mouth is dry. This is the time to take action. So, the other thing that happens when we're really anxious is we have a hard time formulating our thoughts. So this is where when people say, well, write down a list of all different things you want to give a try. You can go to that list and just do it. You don't have to sit there and think, okay, what did I tell myself I was going to do? After a while, it's going to become automatic. And so you don't have to worry about that list. As when Chastity had mentioned, be prepared to use more than one strategy. Maybe something was going to help for a little while, and then you're going to switch to something else. Now, what we all have to decide is what kind of actions work for us. Give you an example. I'm going to go over like some deep breathing techniques, maybe some guided imagery. Somebody may say, gee, that's really calming. Somebody else may say, I can't sit here. I have to move. So your actions are going to be something that fits you as a person. Some people are more what we call kinetic movement. So maybe it's going to be taking a walk. Maybe it's going to be cleaning. Many, many years ago, when I was in graduate school, I had the cleanest house I ever had because I was like, oh, I got to clean, I got to clean, because that helped me with my anxiety. And knowing it takes practice for these things to work. So, especially deep breathing, different types of muscle relaxation, you need to do these things when you're not feeling anxious, because that's how your brain gets in tune to saying, oh, yeah, this helps me relax. If you only do it when you're anxious, it's almost like a negative reinforcer. Okay, does that make sense? So, this was definitely a thumbnail sketch of what propels anxiety. So, the other thing is, and I want to go back to this for 1 second, is the other thing that helps us decrease our own anxiety is not only when the stress goes away, but also when you feel that you have the tools to deal with the stress. Right? So if you feel like, okay, I can get a handle on this, whether it's having a plan, whether it's speaking to different people, say if it's monetary, just worrying about not having enough money, you can do breathing exercises, you can do everything else, but you probably will need to take some good steps, whether it's talking to a financial planner, etc. So we're not going to go over that part, but realize having a plan is very helpful when it is an outside stressor as to what can I do differently that way. Okay. Am I going too fast? Okay, thank you. I love the head shaking. All right, so relaxation. We're going to go over these. Breathing, guided imagery, mindfulness. There's an apps, okay? I am a firm believer in don't pay for apps. You may have to deal with advertisements, but you don't need to pay. Medito is a great free app. It will try to get you to get like Medito Plus or whatever, but don't go down that road unless you really want to. Calm, CALM, is another great app that last time I checked, you do have to pay for. And then with all these, there's tons of things that are, if you just YouTube, even out there. Yoga, time in nature, calming music, reading, light exercise. We're going to talk about these. For breathing exercises to be really effective, there's a couple things you have to realize. One is do not overinflate, because that makes you feel almost a little choky. Remember, as kids, you'd take a huge breath and see who could hold their breath the longest. That's not conducive to relaxation. So, what we take is what's called like a belly breath, some places. And it's where when you take a breath, your abdomen will also go out. And in doing that, you're activating the diaphragm. Now, anybody know why, if you have hip cups, you take a deep breath and hold it? Well, it's because your vagal nerve is underneath your diaphragm. And in doing that, the vagal nerve, and I don't know what the process is, but it helps stop hiccups. The vagal nerve slows things down. So that's another way of also helping your body relax. The other thing you want to do with your deep breathing is in through your nose and out through your mouth. The problem is when you do breathing exercises all through your mouth, you can be mimicking anxiety for your body without even realizing it. Now, if you take a yoga class, there will be different breathing exercises. Some of them are all through your mouth. And that's all great because you're being led by someone who is keeping the exercise on a very calm level. Left to our own devices when we're anxious, it's easy to breathe too rapidly if you're doing all mouth breathing. Make sense? All right, so there's a number of breathing exercises. I go for the simplest one because and you guys are welcome to take any pictures you like of these slides. I don't care. Um, the one I do is even easier than this. So 444, you can use any number you want. It's just because we all have different comfortable lung capacities. You inhale to whatever count is comfortable for you. So you can do four, you can do three. You hold for a beat and then you exhale for that same count. So, what you're trying to achieve is your inhale is as long as your exhale. Um, with the one I have up there, you hold for four. I don't do that because it's too, sometimes it can just get too confusing for people. And sometimes people can begin to feel a little short of breath doing it that way. Now, while you're doing this, you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Part of the reasoning for counting is that it helps to focus your mind on what you're doing. But there are other things besides counting you can do. Like some people like to say, good is coming in, tension is going out. If you have a particular saying you want, as long as it's in your count. And what I'd like to do is, I'd like to us to do this together. If you don't want to do it, don't bother. I'll do it and do it with me because I want you to notice how you're feeling now and then notice how you're feeling when we're done. And we're going to do it 4 times. So not very long. All right. So ideally, I'm going to tell you theoretically. Theoretically, when you do these exercises, your feet should be flat on the floor, sitting up in a comfortable position. You know, maybe both hands on your thighs. But my thing is, what's ever comfortable for you. The other thing I love about this breathing exercise is you can do it anywhere and nobody needs to know you're doing it. You could stand in line and do it. You could be sitting down and doing it. All right, so we're going to get started in a comfortable position. And I'm going to start. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4. In. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last one. In. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out. 1, 2, three, four. All right. Anybody feel worse? Oh boy. So this to me is kind of like you as a rule, it's hard to do harm. Um, and as I said, you can substitute other things for the counting. Now, when I say, well, for this to really work, you want to do it times when you're not really anxious. So pick a time in the day. Some people find this a great way to relax before going to sleep. And you don't have to be sitting, you can be laying in bed and do it for like a minute. And it'll help get you relaxed and it trains your brain not only for the actions of this to help, but your brain will remember how you felt. Um, so that's my breathing exercise. There are many, many out there. You can go on YouTube and find um, there's also an alternative breathing exercise where, and you can see this in yoga, where you close a nostril, breathe in, breathe out through the other nostril, breathe in, switch again. And it's all what tends to work for you. So, what I'm telling you need to do is you need to experiment and find out what you like with this. Um, all right. Any questions regarding breathing exercises? Okay. All right. So mindfulness. Mindfulness, I found while I was at work, became the new buzzword. You need to be mindful. Are you being mindful at home? And it kind of made no difference. In the fact that we were working through COVID and people were like, well, you need to be more mindful. You'll handle it better, which is a shame. And that's not true, really. Um, but what mindfulness will allow you to do is calm yourself when it's needed. Now, there are ways of being mindful. I'm going to use my experience at work, and you can use it before anything. Prior to walking in a door, maybe it's your doctor's office, you kind of settle yourself in the fact that maybe you'll do a deep breath or two, and you're going to think about why you're there, what you want to get done. That's mindfulness. Essentially, it is a way of focusing on the moment. And there's another important point about mindfulness that people miss, and that is you are accepting how you feel. So when you're practicing mindfulness, you're not telling yourself, I shouldn't be feeling angry, I shouldn't be feeling anxious. It is, this is how I feel right now. I'm not going to feel this way forever, but I do feel this way now. So that, because if you have a need to stop feeling a certain way, you are spending your time fighting that feeling as opposed to creating calmness. Does that make sense? So there are all different ways of doing mindfulness. Some people find prayer very helpful. Anybody here do adult coloring? It is the most amazing thing. I can't do it. I have dyslexia. I can't color between the lines, so I don't find it relaxing at all. But I don't know how many people I know and just find it to be very relaxing. You can, and senior centers, get them to, the easiest ones is get them to copy mandalas. They're free online. You know, that's the circle that has various patterns in it. You can use crayons, you can buy colored pencils. I used to go to the dollar store and buy these things for patients. And then you can take it to a whole other level where they've got very expensive gel pens, etc. So any level. But why that's helpful is you are concentrating on one thing. So, you know, whether it's adult coloring, knitting, whittling, um, we're going to talk more about meditation and observation. Um, Personally, when I'm feeling anxious, I pull up my phone and I'll play a game of solitaire because I find that for me relaxing. How about out of these, can anyone unmute and tell me what do you find helpful? And it could be a totally different list, which is great.
Karen, while they're thinking, I just want to say that we offer Zentangle. I can't draw, but I can doodle and make lines and then shading those
Oh,
lines. So if anyone's interested in Zentangle, it's free. And oh my goodness, as a non-artistic person, I'm creative, but I'm not artistic. I love it because it really just focuses and narrows down and my thoughts.
yeah, thank you. I'm going to have to look that up and add this to my list. So, and Kathy, were you going to say something?
When I can't get out of my head, I like to dance. I like to, I mean, it's not, like meditation or restful, but when, I'm obsessed with the problems in the world or different things, and I'm able to go to a Zumba class or turn on some music in the basement and just, or find a YouTube that's doing a Zumba Gold or something for a few minutes, that gets me out of the dark place that I've gone.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much for offering that. And it's a great example of being kinetic. That
Mhm.
move that there's many things out there. It's just like finding what works best for you.
Yes, and at night when I can't sleep, because I do the breathing at night, four in, hold four, four out, or some version, and I find that sometimes that does help me get to sleep when I've gone to sleep, woken up, and can't get back. So, and the Kindle helps too. So,
Yeah, and yeah, thank you. I can't see other people, so if somebody else is out there, if you're in a class of mine, it's almost like I feel like an auctioneer. If you move something, I'm going to ask you. So, please don't hesitate to, help give people suggestions. Um, okay, so, let's look at some more of these. First of all, meditation. I want to start with the fallacy. You have to clear your mind. Our minds are never blank until we're dead. Because even when we're sleeping, we get into that dream state, which even if you don't remember it, you still were dreaming. So the goal is not to make your mind blank. And I think realizing that can make any form of meditation easier. And the idea is that your thoughts are kind of like clouds, just kind of brush them aside. So I find it easiest personally to meditate is to be listening to something. So you may find there's tons of meditation apps. Now, what is important about this is a couple things. Do you like a female voice or a male voice? Do you want to hear a British accent or they drive you crazy? So when you pull up these different apps, get something that you like. Maybe a high voice annoys you, maybe a low voice. And it has nothing to do with, oh, I should like a woman's voice because I'm a woman. Just whatever tone tends to relax you. So that's an important point. Um, some apps have background music, like water flowing or tinkly bells. If you don't like them, don't use that app. So experiment and find out what works for you. I find it easiest to listen to a voice or um, be saying something. And some of the meditations have you say something, and it needs to have nothing to do with religion. It is more just a way to focus your mind. And if we have time at the back, at the end, I'll pull up uh, an app and play it for you. But this is the fun part where it's like just give things a try, see what works for you. And okay, and a lot of these, most of the apps that you download also have specific things for sleep. And it's humorous. You can get like stories to fall asleep to. No, you can state how long. The other thing is when you first, if you want to try this, is start slow. You can choose a meditation that lasts for 3 minutes, lasts for 5 minutes, and that way you're not constantly looking at your watch saying, how much longer is this going to be going on? So start minimal and then build up if you find it works for you. Any questions? Okay, so let me go back to guided imagery or progressive relaxation. That is, you can look at it, and I guess maybe some people can look at it. It's definitely a form of mindfulness. And what that is that you're listening to someone essentially telling a story. So I'm going to give you an example. If I was doing a guided imagery class, I may say, get yourself in a comfortable position, and you don't have to close your eyes. You can do what's called soft eyes, where you just kind of don't focus on anything in particular. You uh, and I might have you take a couple comfortable breaths, and then I'm going to say, imagine yourself going down a river, and you're in a comfortable tube, and you're feeling the sunlight on your face. You can feel the breeze. The water is warm, it's really not cold. And as you're moving down the river, you feel the quiet rocking of your tube. So that's an example of guided imagery. Some programs may say, think of where you'd like to be as a comfortable or happy spot. So for some people, maybe it's outdoors. For other people, maybe it's in a comfy chair you have. I'm going to tell you a real short, funny story. I was working with someone, and we were talking about some coping skills, and she said, I first did progressive relaxation, and well, first did guided image, and the woman who did it said, imagine yourself that you're floating down a stream in a canoe. She said, I heard shoe. So what I thought of, what is a big comfy sneaker? And she still uses that. So what cracks me up about that, and it's like whatever works for you. Now, progressive relaxation or progressive muscle relaxation is, again, someone is talking you through, and they're going to say something like, we're going to start at the bottom, and I want you to tense your toes. Now release. Now tense your foot and your toes. Now release. Now tense your ankle, and now release it. And so that that will go all the way through your body up to really the top of your head, where maybe you're tensing your forehead and then releasing. And you can do that as well for varying amounts of time. Okay, any questions? So what I'm giving you is kind of like, this is what you can expect if you would like to try it. Okay, now sensory stimulation. So what we do is this is a way that you're pulling your senses in to help you relax. There's all different ones. Some people like a warm shower, warm bath. There's different scents that tend to be more calming, that you can just buy lotion with that scent. Lavender, through studies, is known to be more calming for most people. Rose as well. And then if you feel like you need to be energized, eucalyptus, peppermint tend to be more energizing. Some people find soothing foods really helpful. Now, we all know this can cause a problem in the long run. But you may find maybe a more kinetic person finds eating celery to be more calming. Someone else may find I'm going to make soup or open up a can of soup. Massage. Anybody ever use a weighted blanket? So all a weighted blanket is that you're laying down, you're sitting up, and you've got something heavy on you. So you don't have to buy a weighted blanket. You can use a heavy quilt. Now, if you don't like sleeping with blankets, you don't like your feet covered, whatever, you probably will not like a quilt or a heavy blanket to find calming. I'm one of these people that I like something on me 12 months a year. So a heavy blanket to me is really calming. But again, you got to know yourself. A self hug, um, pets can be very calming for people. So these are your sensory. Now, to help, another way of helping with anxiety is also using your senses to engage to get you thinking about something else. So what you can do is where you're sitting, you're going to engage all five senses. What are four things I see around me? And you're going to name them off. What are four things I hear around me? Or some people go, five things I see, four things I hear, three things I feel touching me. That could be the warmth of the sun, it could be the breeze, it could be the chair underneath your butt. And then even one thing I taste. So, this is a way when you're sitting someplace and getting very anxious, a way of self calming because you're taking your thoughts from the anxiety and thinking about something else. Other ways of engaging in sensory stimulation can be cleaning, it's kinetic, making a phone call to someone, cooking. Can be a way, whether it is simply pouring soup from a can or making something, chopping. These are all things that some of you probably already know if they help or not, and others give it a try. And then we know certain lifestyle additions or changes are helpful for anxiety. Sleeping, having a regular sleep pattern, exercising, reducing caffeine, eliminating caffeine, reducing alcohol or eliminating it. We know a healthy diet. So a diet that isn't high in carbs, isn't a lot of processed food. And then the decision as to, do you need to change your situation? Do you need to take steps to do something different? Okay, we started 5 minutes late, so we're ending on time. So, how about does anybody want to unmute and just say either what's something that works for you that you is your go-to, or what's something that you'd like to try?
I'd like to ask a question about social anxiety. Would any of these things work for that?
Yes, definitely, definitely.
What would I try?
Well, you would first of all narrow it down to some things that work for you. And then, I'm going to just say one thing maybe before you go into a social situation would be to practice some deep breathing exercises to help relax yourself before you walk in. And then there's some different cognitive things that do help with social anxiety. Part of it is looking at almost like what if, right? So looking at what are your fears, if you can identify specific fears with social anxiety, and well, what if they happened? Do you have a plan? Do you even need a plan? And then there's other things too, as in looking at with social anxiety, what kind of situations do you feel more comfortable with? And practicing first on those before you go into a larger social situation.
I don't feel comfortable with either one.
Well, and maybe, it might be looking at interacting with one person or two people at a time, but building on that. But, there are definitely things that can be done for that. And, think about it. I'm, of course, a firm believer in counseling. And a lot of times to look at counseling as coaching. You're going for a reason, and that person can really coach you in trying new things. Okay. How
Karen,
about, yeah.
Karen, I want to pull on the thread a little bit because I think it also might be um, relate to gears. Sorry, gears, that's all I know you by. Hi. Um, let's pretend we are worst case scenario. We are in such a state of anxiousness that it almost feels like a heart attack, right? We've all been there. It's like, okay, and some of these techniques aren't really working, like the box breathing, and we're trying the things, but then the more we try, the more we're getting anxious because then we're not working, right? So how do we get off of this vicious cycle of reminding our brain that the threats that we are perceiving, while the body stimulus is real, the threats might not be those worst case scenarios? Like, how do you get off of that vicious cycle?
By starting slow, having a plan, and realizing too, what happens in those situations is what we call anticipatory anxiety. You're worried about getting anxious, so you're getting anxious thinking about that you're going to get anxious. And it happens in, lots and lots of situations. So, I would be working with someone to help you realize what things can help you with the anticipatory anxiety so that when you go into the anxious situation, it's not double anxiety. So it's something, with all of these, there is no quick fix. Um, but there are definitely things that can, really, really improve it. But it's stepwise. It goes back to putting those baby steps in action until you are where you want to be. How about, and anybody else with some thoughts of what works, what they'd like to try? Yeah.
Well, I think the reason I signed up for this program is I have some not good, some bad anxiety about driving. And my husband is a good driver, but as a passenger, I'm a terrible passenger. And I think I make him feel bad, and he's doing everything okay. And I'm just, worried because I think people kind of drive crazy since COVID. It's the world has changed on the road and other ways too. So I think I'm going to try maybe playing a little bit with my phone, doing some solitaire, just to, doing the three things I see here, just something to make the trip a little bit more tolerable. I mean, I can't do that when I'm driving, but I can do that when he's driving. And
Yeah.
it's just gotten really bad as I've gotten older. And, I don't like that it's limiting me, but that's that's my thought.
Yeah, no, that's a great example because you're what you're doing is you're trying to not actively think about those things that make you anxious.
That could happen, but aren't happening.
Right,
You know. Yep.
right.
Yep.
And too, like you've mentioned music. I don't know if your husband likes music, but
Hmm. Yeah, we
there's
do
there's
play.
always chair dancing.
Car dancing. Yeah. Thank you.
How about would anybody else like to share?
Hello.
Yeah.
Um, I like to do Zentangle too, adult coloring books. arts and crafts, and I go to the senior center and participate in all their activities and webinars and whatever they had in OPAL that's relaxing. I also clean, cook something. I have a hot tub, so I get my hot tub outside. I play music, and I have to go to the beach at least once a year. That's so that ocean water and the sand, put my feet in it, and it's like really relaxing. Um,
I love that. Thank you. And you mentioned something two things that I didn't really highlight, and I'm glad you did, was other arts and crafts. And you also mentioned the senior center.
right. Mhm.
I am, I can't tell you how amazed I am at the helpfulness of
Yes,
different offerings at the senior centers.
exactly. They have so much stuff there, something there for everyone.
Yes.
Whatever kind of activities you're into, trips. I may have gone on day trips. They have week-long trips. They have speakers there. I mean, they have fashion show. I mean, the one I go to, it's like a lot of activities.
Yes.
Involved in the Red Hat Society, and um, I'm going to arts and crafts in about an hour. They have there. Um,
Ah,
they have Family Feud, like things, mindful type activities, to get you to think. And it's fun. And I meet new people all the time because I don't go over there with a group of people. Just go with myself, and I just meet people, and we all in the same boat. Just want to find something to do, or lonely, or just want to get our minds off of something, learn something new. And I'm in the health field, and I still go around there, and they have a speaker, and I learn something new. Um, and it gets my mind away from anything. I'm just like focused on that, and I'm not thinking about my problems or anything. And really enjoy myself because everyone is like around the same age group, and um, it's just positive for me. I can't say enough about the senior center. A lot of people um, don't utilize it, or they may think they're not old enough to utilize it. But if you're 55 and older, you can join. And most of the activities are free. A lot of them are chair aerobics. I do that, and they have yoga and all sorts of things. I mean, it's just tons of things you can get yourself involved in. That's positive for me. It's helped me a lot with my anxiety.
hmm thank you. Thank you so much. And just, the whole socialization that it allows a person to do as much as they want to do.
Right. Especially if you're a caregiver, you want to get away from caregiving and do something for yourself. It's a perfect
Yes.
to do it. And if you live in Maryland, they're like all over the place in the city, in the county, and find one nearby and go and find something that you like to do. I mean,
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Beverly. And that importance of taking care of yourself, especially when you're taking care of somebody else.
exactly.
How
Yeah.
about anybody else like to uh, give any suggestions?
They also have meals around there too, if you want to eat with
Yes.
a group of people for lunch, and you have the meals with a small fee. And this is like your tax dollars going to this is what your tax dollars provide, so you might as well use that.
That's right. Your tax dollars at work.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I want to tell you all how much I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate your feedback and your listening, and choose one thing you want to give a try. And I hope you all have the best day you're able to have.
And Karen, thank you for reminding us. Really, what I heard is that sometimes we have to think about the narrative that our brain is already subscribed to. right? So when my daughter was going through the throes of her anxiety, we always play what's worst case scenario? Like when you walk through the door, if you have social anxiety or driving, like, oh, since COVID, that's the narrative, right? That's the narrative that's in the head. And it's, well, what is the best thing could happen? So if I attend this instead of what's the worst thing that can happen, maybe dreaming about what is the best thing, just reframing. So thank you for just some of these helpful tools. Walk away, try them. I encourage everyone. Just know that if you tried it once and it didn't work, please try it again and try something different. As Karen said, there is no one stop shop, and this is why we have so much addiction in our society because people think it's got to be a quick and easy fix. This is a destination and a journey, and we are grateful to have you companioning with us. So
Thank you. And
yeah,
I would recommend trying everything 3 times. If after 3 times you are like, this doesn't work, it's not for me, then that's fine. 3 times may let you know, well, I need to do it a little bit more or longer. So we're all what's the saying? Life is a marathon, not a race. And we're all working on our marathon.
that's right. So pace yourselves accordingly, right? It's right. Well, thank you again, Karen, and thank you all for taking out time of your day. If you ever have any feedback, you can always email me directly, and we appreciate you being here today. So take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.